So what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, you missed the ongoing celebration of Easter. Remember, Easter's not a day; it's a season. In fact, it's a year-round celebration, recognition, challenge, affirmation, all of that kind of stuff for Christians. Anyway, today was Easter too, and so we heard the story from John's Gospel of Thomas, who's not present when Jesus first appears to the disciples who are locked away for fear. And he says to them that he's not willing to concede this. He wants to see Jesus himself. He wants to touch the wounds. He wants to know. And Jesus comes. And indeed, Thomas gets to confront Jesus and reach out, see the wounds, touch the wounds. And he says, "My Lord, my God." And yet we still call him Doubting Thomas. It's funny, we focus on the fact that he wanted to see Jesus. And today we talked about how faith often begins with conversation. Faith begins when we say, "I'd like to know more. I'm not sure that I understand. I need help with. I need to know this thing." Faith starts that way. It doesn't start with a miraculous vision. It doesn't start with the recognition. It starts with a conversation, a willingness to be open to be vulnerable, to state need. And that's what Thomas does. And then Thomas does what the others don't. The others all said, "Jesus is risen. We saw him. He was here," which is great. That's an observation. They saw him. Great. But Thomas says, "My Lord, my God." That's a statement of faith. In seeing the wounds, in touching the wounds, in being with Jesus, Thomas makes a statement of faith. He says, "My Lord, my God." He recognizes in Jesus the divine presence. All of his hopes realized. It's a statement of faith. In Jesus, Thomas finds God. So in the way that Jesus lives, in the fact that Jesus lives, in his resurrection, in his teachings, Thomas will look for the will of God, the character of God, the love of God. And in engaging in Jesus and his life, and in sharing Jesus and his life, he will further engage. He will come to know God. That's his faith statement. "My Lord, my God." To that point, the others said, "We saw Jesus. Wow, he's alive." That's great. That's an observation. But Thomas, the one who we call the doubter, is the first to make a faith statement. "My Lord, my God." John's gospel seems to be designed to invite us into the same kind of faith statement, to decide for ourselves. Will we acknowledge the resurrection of Jesus and say, "Well, that was great"? Or will we do more and say, "My Lord, my God," and recognize in Jesus' life, in his teachings, in his way of being, in his death and resurrection, in his life in community, God's character is revealed, God's will is revealed, and we are invited to follow that we might come closer to God. Seemed an appropriate way to spend Easter too. Oh, and we spent a great time celebrating a 60th wedding anniversary of Harvey and Marion Bride. That was fun. We sang, there was music, there was food, there was a celebration of life. We decided that we would celebrate Harvey and Marianne, just as we are invited to decide to have faith, to make the statement for ourselves, "My Lord, my God," and to act accordingly. Anyway, that's what you missed at Jubilee today, but you didn't have to miss that, and you don't really have to miss the important part. You can decide for yourself, what does it mean to you when you hear the story of the resurrection, when you hear about Jesus coming through the locked doors, when you hear about Jesus breathing on the disciples and saying, "Peace be with you." What does it mean for you? What statement would you make? And let that be the beginning of a conversation. Let that be the beginning of your faith. And hopefully it'll bring you around us, because we'd love to hear from you too. We'd love to be part of the conversation. But until we get to see you, God bless you. Keep well. Get here soon.